Hello, hello, everybody. What a great opportunity it is again to welcome every single member of BD Nation to our Monday night product training, our next episode of EMF 101 with Marty Grosjean. So wherever you happen to be in our incredibly beautiful ByDzyne world, it might be Monday night for many of you. It might be Tuesday morning, and it might even be late at night for some of you, but we welcome each and every one of you who are joining us this night for product training with Marty. And I'm feeling super excited right now because I love the product, or the concept of being a product of the product. And as I show you my wrist here, I'm super excited again tonight, to be wearing my BD Protect bracelet. It gives me a sense of peace, gives me a sense of assurance, and I'm really excited that I know that I'm taking a step to help protect my health and my well-being by taking advantage of these phenomenal BD Protect products and protection from the different things that we might be encountering as we go about our everyday lives. Now, Marty, you might want to remember this because I think maybe more people than just me have this question. I just bought a brand new cell phone like 3 or 4 days ago, which means that my other BD Protect sticker is on my previous cell phone. Maybe just as an interesting little way to begin our call, what do I need to do? Can I take that sticker off of my old cell phone and put it onto my brand new cell phone?
The answer is yes, Dave. In fact, they generally peel off pretty easily. Probably even a fingernail, but if not, then a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, or worst case scenario, if it's stuck on there really well, just use a razor blade. But most of the time they will peel up quite easily and still even be sticky, so that you can then just put it on the other phone and be good to go. Worst case scenario, if for whatever reason it's not still sticky, you can tape it onto the new phone, you can glue it onto the new phone, you can just put it inside your case and then put the case on your phone. It doesn't really matter how it's attached to the phone. The important thing is that it's just sort of in contact with the surface of the phone. But 99% of the time, it's quite easy to peel off and move from one phone to another.
So you would assume that the adhesive power of the original sticker is still going to be good.
Usually that's the case.
But if for some reason it's not, then just a little dab of super glue will be good to put it on the new phone.
Yeah, or even, if you have a case, probably the easiest thing to do is just put a piece of Scotch tape over the sticker and then put the case on the phone.
Oh.
And then you're not going to see that it's maybe not that attractive because it's under the phone. But yes, glue is another alternative. The two-sided tape is another alternative, really. Or, again, as I mentioned, you don't even really have to stick it to the phone. If you do use a case, you can just put it inside the case and then put the phone in the case, and it'll still be, touching the phone.
Oh, well, that is exactly why I asked the question. So that if someone is using a case, just Scotch tape it there. And as long as it is connected to the phone, put the case on, and you're going to get the same incredible benefits as if you were using the adhesive to begin with. Great stuff. Hey, Marty, as we get started today, let me take you back in your own experience a little bit by asking you a simple question. What ignited your passion in this area that has brought you to the point of being such a recognized expert with respect to this EMF protection? How did you get excited about that in the first place?
Well, I guess I started to read some things. I'm very much into holistic health and natural living and natural eating and things like that. And so I sort of, keep up on the latest trends in that area. And I started to come across some articles and information about electromagnetic radiation and potential health concerns. And of course, I wasn't reading mainstream publications like, the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. I was reading more sort of smaller health oriented news sources, but there, especially from a holistic perspective, it's gaining a lot of attention. And once you start to research it, it makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, our bodies, if you know enough about biology and physiology, you realize that human bodies are full of electromagnetic charges, right? From our cells to our hearts to our brains, everything runs on electrical impulses. And so you think about the fact that we're now bombarding our bodies with all these artificial electric impulses coming from outside of our bodies that are not natural. And it's not surprising. I mean, it's common sense, right? That's probably is going to interfere with the electrical signals that were already going on in your body. And so the more research I did, the more I realized this is a pretty serious issue. And then, I happened to find my partner who works together with us to make the BD Protect products, who helped develop the underlying technology here. And, we haven't looked back since. It's an excellent solution for neutralizing the harmful effects of the EMF radiation without actually having to block it. So that way you can still use your phone, use your Wi-Fi, but yet, you're going to not have the health consequences that you otherwise would.
Thank you so much. That was a great answer. The bottom line is it's more in the category of the holistic approach to taking care of our bodies and our health. And because of that, I want to say that it naturally falls into a more healthy way to be addressing our own health concerns. One other question in this introductory phase that we're talking about right now: is there any significance to why these BD Protect products are manufactured in Europe? Is there a reason that you could share with all of our BD Nation listeners that would help them to understand if and why that is significant?
Sure, of course. The reason is that the bioenergetic technology that is sort of the underlying process of how the products work, that really all comes from Europe. So there's been a group of researchers and scientists that have been working on the whole intersection of quantum physics and the human body ever since, the discovery of quantum physics 100 years ago. And what they've done is they've figured out ways to essentially manipulate and create and store energy at the quantum level or the subatomic level. Nobody's doing that in the United States. Nobody's doing it in Asia. It's all really developed primarily Germany, Austria, Russia, Switzerland, those areas. That's where you see a lot of bioenergetic technology. Europe is also the birthplace of homeopathy. Homeopathy is a sort of sister technology, if you will, in the sense that it uses bioenergetic technology as well. So there really isn't a place to get these types of products in the United States or in Asia. It's all this type of technology comes from Europe. And it's fairly well known though there, especially again in the holistic health circles, bioenergetic approaches to health is quite common. You can also say, of course, that it has a lot in common with the oldest traditional Chinese medicine, which is the oldest probably healthcare system that there is in the world, right? Because that also uses the concept of qi, which is very much a bioenergetic technology as well. So it's both cutting edge sort of quantum physics as well as sort of, compatible with ancient healing modalities like Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine as well.
Great, great. Well, what a perfect way to begin our discussion, and more importantly, your presentation today for, once again, EMF 101, and these concepts of holistic and homeopathic methodologies, I think, are some of the most important ways that we could take a look at really doing some things that protect our health, make us feel better, and maybe even do beneficial things for us, even if we don't necessarily feel it right in that very moment. So great stuff. For those of you that are brand new on this call, you are listening to Marty Grosjean, who is literally one of the world's foremost experts in the area of protection from EMF. And so Marty, without any further delay, let me officially give the mic over to you, but with one little point that I've seen a lot of questions even in the last few minutes. Maybe you could begin by speaking with us. What is the meaning of the gem, which is on the back side of this BD Protect bracelet? And then after that, take it away with your presentation tonight.
Sure. Well, I am not going to go into great detail on the meaning of those 4 elements on the back of the bracelet, because that is in my presentation a little bit further. And quite honestly, I don't have the whole thing memorized from one side to the other. I will give you the general overview, which is that each of the 4, what we call energy elements on the back of the bracelet, have a special added energy to them beyond just EMF protection. And they offer your body more support than just the EMF protection. And so we'll talk a little bit about what each of those are when we get to talking about that particular section in the bracelet. So I am going to share my screen right now, and then we can get started. All right, everybody seeing the screen? Hopefully. I guess I can't hear anyone. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, as Dave mentioned, is our BD Protect line of products. They are relatively new, really. We've only had them out probably about maybe 4 to 6 months now, depending on which product it is. And so far, they've proven to be extremely popular. And as Dave and I were talking about in the beginning, the whole concept behind these products is to protect your health from the negative consequences of being exposed to EMF radiation or electromagnetic radiation. There are many studies now that have come out. We'll talk a little bit about those later, showing that there are negative consequences from being exposed to electromagnetic radiation. And, you know, when Dave mentions it's sort of a holistic health type of approach, and it's very true. It's, you know, we often talk about EMF radiation like it's a environmental toxin. So you can think about it like mold or like radon or, you know, asbestos or something like along those lines, where you don't know that it's in your environment, you don't feel it, but it is doing damage to your health. And if you don't remove that environmental toxin from your life or do something to protect yourself from it, it's going to have consequences in the long run. And EMF radiation is the same way. Most of the time, most people don't feel it, and they don't, you know, feel immediate negative effects from it. But over long-term exposure, it is definitely taking a toll on our bodies. And it's a very individual thing. Some people are very highly affected by electromagnetic radiation. They can barely make a cell phone call without getting a headache. Other people could sleep underneath a cell phone tower and it wouldn't bother them. So it really is somewhat dependent on what you're going to feel, but no matter what, you know, it is not going to be good for you, whether you feel it or not. So let's dive into this a little bit. This first page here is just a quick overview of the 4 products. On the far left is the cell phone, computer, iPad router sticker. It goes on any wireless device. It's just a small sticker. The second one over is the one for the car. The third one over is the one for your whole house or your whole apartment or your whole office. And then the last one, of course, is the bracelet. And we'll talk a little bit more about each of those later. But first, let's ask, well, why do we need to worry about EMFs? And really, I guess, as I was talking about earlier, there are more and more scientific studies, like literally thousands of studies now have come out that have shown one type of health consequence or another. And the existing research that they did to set the standards for cell phone radiation, for example, were completed in 1994. Think about how long ago that was. They haven't updated the standards for cell phone radiation exposure since 1994. So it is, and obviously technology has come a long, long way. And now we even have 5G technology and 5G cell phones, which is even more powerful or more higher frequency EMFs. And the antennas are even closer to us. So every day we get more and more electromagnetic radiation bombarded at our bodies. And the standards that the government set for protecting us are old and outdated. And there are hundreds and hundreds of studies, thousands of studies, as I said now, that have documented everything from damage to your DNA, changes in hormone levels and reproductive issues, problems with sleeping, of course, headaches, mental health challenges. And the government has even had studies that show that cell phone radiation causes cancer in mice. They did a multi-year experiment and concluded that, yes, it does cause cancer in mice. So it's a thing. It's a real issue. And as I mentioned before, some people are extra sensitive to EMF exposure. That's called EMF hypersensitivity. They have a big problem in today's world, and they are, they're the types of people that will notice an effect from using the BD Protect products. Not everybody will. Many of us, it's just like I said with mold or radon or whatever, you can't tell if it's there or not, really, most of us, but yet, we know it's doing us harm if it is there. So in case you're interested in learning more, there's a couple of websites that you can go to see some of these many, many studies that have been shown. These are also listed on the BD Protect section of the ByDzyne website, but there's EHT.org and radiationresearch.org are two good websites full of those types of studies. And of course, as we all know, all of us today have cell phones, and, most of us spend a significant amount of our day interacting with those phones and interacting with wireless devices in one way or another. If it's not our phone, it's our iPad. And we definitely have a Wi-Fi router in our house. And even when we're not at home, we're being bombarded by Wi-Fi. There's probably a smart meter on the outside of our house that's emitting EMF. So it's everywhere. There's no escaping it. So what do you do? How can you do it? Well, fortunately, we have the BD Protect line of products. As I mentioned, we have the sticker, which is used for your cell phone, your Wi-Fi router. And these are the two most sort of highest EMF emitters in most people's lives. It also works for laptops, iPads, and many other wireless devices. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. The bracelet, of course, is a very stylish, nice looking bracelet that protects you from all EMFs wherever you go. So the good news is that will protect you from more than just your cell phone. It will help with the Wi-Fi router that's around you. Even when you're outside of your home, it will protect you from EMFs you're exposed to from the 5G cell phone towers that are out there, from the Wi-Fi networks that are everywhere you go now. And then the home office kit. So that will basically turn your whole house into a protected zone. So the beautiful part about that product is that all people and all pets within the home are all protected from all the EMFs that are being emitted both from within the home as well as from outside the home, right? Because you think about it, well, you may have the sticker on your phone and on your Wi-Fi router, but guess what? Your neighbors don't have it on theirs. So they're beaming their Wi-Fi networks into you, as well as, of course, the cell phone towers down the street, et cetera. So by having the whole house kit, you're essentially creating a safe zone in your house from all the EMFs, both coming from within it, from your own devices, as well as from outside it, from other devices. So that's a really nice, powerful product to have. And then, of course, there's the car stickers, so that as you're moving around in your car, today's cars, of course, are full of electronics. The new ones have their own Wi-Fi networks. They all have built-in cell phones. And then you've got your cell phone in there. I mean, it is an EMF hot box. It's, basically a metal box with EMS bouncing all over in it. So the car sticker, if you spend a decent amount of time in your car, that's a very important product to use. And we talked about our technology. It's what we call a bioenergetic technology from Europe. And we talked about why it comes from Europe, but what it does is it essentially neutralizes the harmful effects of the EMFs, so that when they come in contact with your body, they're not going to have the negative effects that they otherwise would. And this is basically how it works. So you start with the product in step one. And in our workshop in Europe, we're essentially transmitting energy frequencies into the different products, whether it's the sticker or the metal plates in the home or the bracelet itself. It's essentially just absorbing the energy that we're giving it in our workshop. And then once it's absorbed that energy, it is going to be emitting it from there on out in step two, what we call the broadcast process. So it will be emitting that energy forever and ever from that time forward. And so what that energy is doing, that it's emitting, is it's harmonizing the radiation coming from the devices. And it's also just providing your body with extra energetic support in your biofield or your personal energy field, so that you are stronger and healthier in the presence of the electromagnetic radiation. So this is the summary of those steps. And the beautiful thing about this energy that I'm talking about, and I mentioned this earlier, is that it's what's called quantum energy. So if you're into science or took a science course when you were younger, quantum physics is this sort of subatomic, more cutting edge level of physics that happens basically below the physical observable level. So you can't measure it. You can only measure, or you can only observe its effects. But the good news about that is that all of this activity happening on neutralizing the phones or the radiation, protecting your body, it's not going to affect the functioning of your phone or your Wi-Fi router or the electronics in your car or your home or anything. It's not blocking the electromagnetic radiation. It's not altering it in any way. So all your devices continue to work as they normally would. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, not only is this technology, working at the sort of cutting edge quantum level, but it's got a lot in common with ancient traditional healing modalities, like traditional Chinese medicine and the concept of qi, as well as in Ayurvedic medicine from India, the concept of prana. So, when you are getting acupuncture with traditional Chinese medicine, what they're doing is they're putting the needles in you to move the qi around your body to balance your energy and move your energy into different places. Well, that's the same energy, the same level of energy that we're working with the BD Protect bioenergetic products. Likewise with homeopathy, as I mentioned before, same sort of concept, all happening at the subatomic quantum energy or subtle energy level. As I mentioned, it's important to realize that the bioenergetic technology is not blocking or reducing or changing the EMFs, right? So what that means is you cannot measure it with an EMF meter. some people will say, oh, I'm going to put this on my phone and hold my EMF measuring or my electromagnetic measuring meter up, and there should be a big difference. Well, no, there is no difference. As I mentioned before, if you try and block or reduce the EMFs, all you're going to do is make your wireless devices not work. So that's not really a solution. But neutralizing at the quantum energy level, that is what our bioenergetic process is doing. So of course, what people are going to say is, well, how do I know this is working? If this is all happening at this quantum energy level, which I can't measure, how do I know these products are not fake, that they're actually doing something? Well, the answer to that is the only real way to know is by doing studies and taking measurements of people's health with and without using the products. So we have done a number of those different studies with different types of ways of measuring people's health. But if you look in the second bullet here, the normal process is you take somebody and you measure their health with some sort of a measurement process without any EMF exposure. Then you give them EMF exposure, for example, like they make a cell phone call for 2 minutes, for example. Then you give them a BD Protect product. You put the bracelet on them, or you put the cell phone sticker on. They do another 2-minute cell phone call. You measure them a third time. And generally, not generally, always what we find is that their health is much improved after the cell phone call when they have the BD Protect product as when they didn't. Of course, it always also goes down from number 1 to number 2, right? So when you make a cell phone call, your body is going to show stress, no matter what measurement technique that you use. And some of the ones that are common ones that we've used is heart rate variability, electrodermal testing, blood tests, live blood cell analysis. You can even see it in basic physiological measurements that your doctor does on you, like heart rate, blood pressure, pH level, pupillary oscillation. All these things, when measured closely, you can see the effects of exposure to electromagnetic radiation. They will change for most people when they're making a cell phone call, and not for the better, for the worse. So this is a way, the only way to know that it works is by doing a with and without the BD Protect when people are making a cell phone call or sitting next to a Wi-Fi router or whatever, so that you can see that it is actually making a difference. There's also the lemon juice test, which is also, I think, listed on the BD Protect section of the ByDzyne website. But this is an interesting one to show people. If you take 2 glasses of natural lemon juice, not fake lemon juice, obviously, natural lemon juice, you put them in 2 identical glasses about, a half a meter apart from each other. And then you wrap the bracelet around one of the glasses and you leave them sit there for about a minute. And then you taste the difference between the lemon juice in the 2 glasses. The one with the bracelet wrapped around it will taste significantly better than the other one. It's less acidic, it's less tart. It's a really interesting test. I encourage you to try it. The biggest and most important study that we've done that demonstrates how well the BD Protect technology works is a double-blind study that also happened to be done in Europe, but it was done by a third-party research institution. This one called ByDzyne. ByDzyne is a research institution that only does research studies. It's not a company. It's, they're in the business of doing research. So they did a double-blind study where there was a group of 15 people, and it was a scenario that I mentioned. They took their health measurements without any EMF exposure. Then they took their health measurements when they were sitting next to a Wi-Fi router right next to them. And then they put the BD Protective bracelet on the people and sat them next to the Wi-Fi router and took their health measurements again. And what they found was that the health measurements were always improved when they had the BD Protect bracelet on, and sometimes even better than their baseline health measurements before even getting exposed to the EMFs and when there was no Wi-Fi router. And the other interesting, important thing is that even without the Wi-Fi radiation measurements, just comparing people's health with and without the BD Protect bracelet on, they showed measurable improvements in their basic health parameters just by wearing the BD Protect bracelet for like 15 minutes before they got their test taken. So it is going to be helping you regardless of how much EMF radiation you're exposed to, is really the conclusion there. Let's also take a quick look at this cress sprouts growth test that we did, which is really a excellent visual of what happens when you expose something, a living being, to electromagnetic radiation. On the left here, you have a picture of a bowl of sprouts that was grown right next to this Wi-Fi router. You see the white box to the right of it is a Wi-Fi router. So on the picture on the left, there was no BD Protect sticker on the Wi-Fi router, and you can see that the sprouts look very sickly and not healthy at all. On the right was the same amount of sprouts grown in the same bowl, in the same soil, in the same room, under the same conditions for the same amount of time. Only the difference is there was a BD Protect sticker on the router this time. And obviously you can see the difference between those sprouts in that one. They're healthy, they're flourishing, they're thriving. So this is an excellent visual manifestation of, you know, what EMF radiation can do and what having a BD Protect product can do to help. And I won't go through all of the details here, but basically, you know, here are some meters that are showing that there is EMF radiation right next to that box. And here's the one showing that there was no EMF radiation. Next to the sprouts on the left were the control sprouts. So we actually had a control group as well. And this is the ones over here that were grown by the Wi-Fi router. So that's a very interesting test right there for people to show people if you're talking to them. So now let's jump into a little bit more into each of the different products. First of all, the BD Protect sticker. So as I mentioned before, this is for all of your wireless devices that you have. As I also mentioned, the two most important ones to use this for are your mobile phone and your Wi-Fi router. Those are the strongest senders of EMF, the strongest amount of EMF radiation in your life. The mobile phone, of course, is communicating with a cell phone tower, which is several miles away, right? So several kilometers away. So of course, it's got to have a really powerful signal to be able to do that. So it's emitting a good deal amount of electromagnetic radiation, especially when you're on a phone call. But even when you're not, it's still sending bursts of EMFs to that tower down that are several kilometers away saying, hey, I'm here, hey, I'm here, hey, I'm here. So it's always sending radiation to you, or it's always sending radiation out in strong signals, whether you're talking on it or not. And of course, the Wi-Fi router is broadcasting the network to do that, you know, which most of them reach for, I don't know what, 50 meters or something like that. You know, they have to send out a lot of EMF radiation in order to create a signal strong enough for you to connect with when you're 50 meters away. So those two are far and away the most important products that you should have your sticker on. But all of your wireless devices are really going to be emitting EMF. So if you sit around all day with your laptop on your lap, or you're constantly working on your iPad, definitely a good idea to get one for those. If you have a baby monitor or a cordless phone, those are two pretty strong emitters of EMFs. Even though they're kind of old school, they don't use, not all of them use Wi-Fi, but they still use very strong signals. So very important for those types of devices. And of course, you know, there are all wireless thermostats and wireless speakers and wireless refrigerators and washing machines. Why you would need that, I have no idea, but they're out there. And so they're all going to be sending and receiving EMFs. So, you know, ultimately, it's great to have your sticker for all those products. The bracelet, as I mentioned before, the beautiful thing about the bracelet is that it is protecting you from all EMFs that you are exposed to everywhere you go. So whereas the cell phone stickers really, or the BD Protect sticker is really just going to be neutralizing the radiation only from the device that it's attached to, this is going to be protecting your body from all the EMFs that you come into contact with from whatever source. So it's very flexible from that perspective. And, you know, one that we tell people you really need to have it in addition to the one on your cell phone. You know, and let's talk about the energy elements on the bottom now that Dave was asking about. So if you look at the picture on the left here, you see that each of the bracelets has these 4 extra energy elements in there. There's a yellow, or sorry, a brown, a green, a blue, and a red. So what these 4 things do, the red one emits far infrared rays. So this is a type of energy, if you will, that really helps your body be stronger, if you will, and more resilient. The brown one is for grounding to the Earth's energy. So some of you may have heard of grounding or earthing. You know, basically in today's world, we're very cut off from the natural energy that comes from Mother Earth below us. But of course, we evolved as human beings to be in contact with that energy from Mother Earth. So, you know, not having that is not good for our long-term health. We can't thrive as well. So this brown element on the bottom has that earth energy, that grounding energy in it that it's providing to your body. The red one is augmenting negative ions to create a balanced energy state. So if anybody knows about sort of negative versus positive ions, most of us who live in indoor spaces and are around EMFs all the time, there's way too many positive ions in our environments and therefore in our body. And that's not good, because you want to have a balance between positive and negative ions. That's that's the way it is in nature. So when you go out in the woods or in the mountains, you have a natural balance of positive and negative ions, which is one reason why you feel so good out there. And so having that extra supply of negative ion energy coming from the band will help your body be in a more balanced energy state. And then, of course, the last one is the, I think, blue one, and that's gives just a little extra energy support for your body. Essentially, I don't know what you would call it, sort of an energy shot for your body, if you will, to make it better able to withstand the stress of getting exposed to EMFs. So you add all these things together, and that's essentially what's making this bracelet good for your health, regardless of how many EMFs. Even if you go out into the woods where there are no EMFs, it's still going to be better for your health than not wearing it. So that's the amazing thing. You can wear it all day and all night. You know, if you have the home and office kit in your whole house protected, you don't need to wear it while you're sleeping. That's optional. But if you don't have the home kit, then you would want to wear it all night even. And I sleep in mine, and I shower in mine. I do everything in mine. So it's, you know, it's very versatile and it's very comfortable. That's the good news. And then we'll talk about the home kit. So as I mentioned earlier, the beautiful thing about the home kit is that it is protecting the entire area for all the people that are in it, and from all the radiation that's coming from within the house as well as from outside of the house. And what you get when you buy the kit is 5, they're basically metal plates, and they have an adhesive backing. They're made out of stainless steel, and they have a backing so you can stick them. And this is you see in the middle here that you get 5 of them. There's a big one, the one on the left, that goes on the inside of your fuse box or your circuit breaker box. And then these 4 go on 4 different outlets around your house or your apartment or your office. And it tells you which ones to put them on. You don't need them on all your outlets. It's really not that important exactly where they are, but by being attached to your outlets and having the big one on your fuse box, it's going to circulate the energy from these stainless steel plates throughout the wiring of your house to create the protected zone that I was talking about. And that way, all people, all pets, all plants, everything inside is protected. And then, of course, the last one is the car being ideal for people, especially who commute or, are just in jobs where they're in their car a lot. And of course, anybody who has a hybrid or an electric vehicle should have at least one, if not 2. We generally recommend 2 of them for electric and hybrids because, of course, the EMF radiation is so strong in those cars. They have the giant battery packs in them and then the inverters, which are big emitters of EMFs. So a very important product for those people who are using their car regularly or have electric or hybrid vehicles. Now, of course, one of the questions that people frequently ask is, if I have, let's say, the BD Protect sticker, do I really need the bracelet? Or if I have the bracelet, do I really need the sticker? And if I have the home kit, do I need the sticker? So the answer is that, in an ideal scenario, you would have all of the devices because they all work together synergistically to give you the maximum protection. Now, if you were to ask me, okay, I'm not a millionaire. I can't buy all these things at once. Where do I start? What we generally tell people, of course, is that the bracelet is a great place to start because it is so flexible and powerful, right? It protects you from all EMFs wherever you go and whatever their source. That being said, you are going to definitely get a higher level of protection if you have the sticker on your cell phone and your Wi-Fi router, right? Those are the 2 most powerful emitters. So what I would tell people is, in order of where should I spend my money, I would start with the bracelet. I would get one for your phone and your Wi-Fi router. And then when you're ready, you get one for your whole house. And of course, once you get one for your whole house, you don't need to get one. You don't need to wear your bracelet at home anymore. You only need to wear it when you go out of the house. And if you have the whole house system, then it's not so important to get the sticker for every single wireless device in your house, right? You don't need it for every wireless speaker and, every wireless thermostat. You probably would just only have it on your phone, your router, and, maybe your laptop if you're using it all day long. So, and of course, as I mentioned, the car is just very important if you spend a lot of time in your car. Again, if you have the bracelet, it is protecting you in the car. So it's not as important to have the car if you have the bracelet already. But if you, as I mentioned, spend a significant amount of time in your car commuting or whatever, then yes, wear the bracelet and get the car. So that's the high level overview. Thank you very much for your attention. And I think it is now time to see if anybody has some questions.
If any of you members of BD Nation have questions right now, we still have just a few minutes left. If you wouldn't mind, put your questions down in the chat at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and Marty will be able to see those questions and give you some answers. So go ahead and take advantage of this opportunity for the next few minutes. Marty, thank you very much. But while we're waiting for a few people to put some questions together, maybe I could just begin with a question for you. With respect to the EMF that is literally around all of us every day, is there any difference in the use of these products that has any relationship to the age of the people that would be using them? For example, can teenagers wear the bracelet just as effectively as adults? Is there any difference whatsoever depending on the age of the consumer?
Absolutely not. It does not matter. Children can wear the bracelets. In fact, I highly recommend the bracelets for children because schools, at least in the United States these days, are full of EMFs. Like they have Wi-Fi networks in them. Kids are using, iPads all the time. So no difference at all, regardless of how old or young you are. And I see Malsabel asked a question about expiration date, and the answer is no. Sorry that I forgot to mention that. There is no expiration date. There is no need to recharge them or anything like that. Once we put the energy into the device, it emits that energy forever and ever. So you never have to change it or replace it or charge it or anything like that.
I see some Spanish questions there. If someone could give myself and Marty a bit of a hand with translating those questions into English, that would be fantastic. So, Marty, just as a recap, the bottom line is there's no expiration of the effectiveness of any of these BD Protect products. That's a great point. Now, another question in general, that when you were giving your presentation, I remembered, for example, the many times, even up until now, that I'm riding, for example, in a subway, and everybody has their cell phones out, and it is sort of like just, I'll call it an EMF festival in that subway car. I assume that that's all the more reason to be having this bracelet on my wrist because of the EMF festival that's going on around me when I'm on a subway car.
Absolutely. A subway and an airplane are probably the two worst places in the world because you have all those cell phones all in one place and you're surrounded by a metal box, which means that they're just bouncing all over the place inside. And then, of course, in a plane, the even worse part is there's EMFs coming at you from the atmosphere. And so, yeah, whenever you're outside the house moving around in the world, it's just really important to have your bracelet on. So one of the questions was, could I align the chakras or strengthen? So, I mean, the answer is, that the energy in your chakra system is the same type of energy that we're talking about here, chi or prana type energy, right? And so it's the same level that bioenergetic technology is working at. And we have done some testing with what's called a gas discharge visualization system, which is just, it's a holistic way of measuring people's health. And it actually shows the energy in your different chakras. And yes, it will essentially help to strengthen or align that bioenergy in you. It's the energy in your biofield, which is everybody has their own personal energy field that is really the source of all the health that they have or don't have. And that's what chi is, that's where prana is, and that's where our products are working as well. So it is definitely going to be improving your biofield or your chi, your chakras, etc.
We still have just a couple of minutes. If anyone else wants to post a question there in the chat area, Marty will definitely be able to give you the kind of detailed response that you're hearing up to this point. But we're coming down to the wire. So if you do have some additional questions, do not hesitate to put them in the chat group right now. Marty, while we're waiting for that, in terms of being bombarded by the EMF radiation, basically anytime that we're outside, and I think that we may have talked about this one time before, but just for the sake of repetition is the mother of all learning. Is there any difference between if you're wearing one bracelet on one arm or two bracelets on one arm or one on each arm? Is there any additional benefit that we can receive from wearing more than one bracelet at a time?
I would say a tiny little bit, but not enough that it would be worth it. So I would, rather than spending your money on two bracelets, I would say it's much more important to get the other products. So make sure that your phone and all your other devices have the stickers, make sure your house is all protected and that your car is all protected. There will be a small extra benefit from having two bracelets, but it's not significant enough. We generally tell people, not to bother with it. It's just not going to be enough of a difference. Just one bracelet in and of itself is a significant help.
We just got a final question there that you can see, Marty. I think this one is a great question. So why don't you tackle this one as our final question of the evening?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So it says that I'm carrying my baby and I'm wearing the bracelet. So would my baby be protected from the EMFs? And the answer is yes. So your baby, obviously, while it's inside you, is still a part of your bioenergy system. And so if it's protecting you and your health, it's protecting you and your baby's health as well. Now, the downside is that changes, of course, once they are not inside of you anymore. So then it's important to have that whole home and office, the whole home system in your house, so that the baby is still protected when they come out in their, infants and in their cribs and around the house. And then, of course, ultimately, when they go off to school, they get their own BD Protect bracelet.
So I think that question, you could look at it in a couple of different ways. If she says carrying my baby, that means that the woman is still in a state of pregnancy, or she's already carrying her baby in her arm. So
you're right. I interpreted that as still having the baby inside. So the answer is, if you're just walking around with the baby in your arms, there would be some protection, but not nearly the same as if the baby had its own bracelet, right? So that's why it's so important to have the whole home, the BD Protect home and office, so that your whole house is protected, because then the baby is always protected, whether they're in your arms or not in your arms, right? So the answer is there will be some protection, but not, I would say, not enough. You still want to get the whole home system so that that baby is going to be mostly protected, or completely protected. I'm sorry.
That was probably a pretty important nuance of definition.
Distinction. You're right. Absolutely.
All right. Well, Marty, thank you so very much. We've taken this presentation right up to nearly the last minute. So thank you to you. Thank you to all of our members of BD Nation who have joined us for tonight's episode of EMF 101 with Marty Grosjean. And I'm sure that Marty will be back with us in just another 2 or 3 weeks for a next episode. So, Marty, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Take care.